Okay. Check. There's my cat. There she is. Say hello. Whoop. Oh. Hiyo toot toot. Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. It occurs to me that perhaps some people don't recognize that journalism is a public service, that reporting, interviewing public officials, etc., is in fact a public service. I didn't realize this for a long time, actually. Years ago, when I was starting out, sort of, a veteran reporter with the Rocky Mountain News told me that, reporting is a public service. And I was like, I was offended for some reason, and I can't exactly remember why. I think it was because I was very precious and protective of my work at that time, which I think is a natural, it's a natural feeling for anybody with any work, right? It's of yourself, etc. But it took me a while to really understand that, yeah, it is a public service. That's not to say that that the work of journalists is done just freely, literally, without being paid what we are owed and deserve. And I can tell you that we are not paid what we're worth. But anyway, so I've just been seeing a concerning. Oh, are you all right? Got a hairball? Oof. I've been getting concerned about seeing some large platforms doing copyright striking on smaller audience, smaller platforms, utilizing some of their work in a fair use way, and I think that that's a very dangerous thing that I've seen happen, specifically in the case of those people who have been covering the trial and conviction of Richard Allen in Indiana. And, whether we can all have our own opinions about the verdict. However, I do believe that any and all reporting done on this, in furtherance of understanding what went wrong, because something did go wrong in that case, again, doesn't take away from guilt or innocence, but from a protecting people from the government perspective, which is what we are guaranteed in the United States, that is actually a fundamental human right, that in addition to not being tortured through solitary confinement, I think that it's intellectually dishonest to suggest that something didn't go wrong, and that that for whatever reason this is now in the public sphere. And it's concerning from a reporter's perspective, and that's all I'm going to come at this from, is from a reporter's perspective. The job that I've taken on is one that is open to scrutiny and open to public scrutiny. So, for example, if you want to go and pull up some of my reporting from 2012, whatever, when I was reporting on some corruption in sub-Saharan Africa, or from 2018, when I was reporting on basically the downfall of democracy in Cambodia through the silencing of the press, use it. Go ahead and use it to your heart's content, as long as it is done in accordance with, Creative Commons and fair use. Being open to that kind of scrutiny is part of the job. And so just about this copyright strike issue around, and I know, like, YouTube is just a weird thing to me. I'm a print journalist, literally, before everything went tits up. But so, there's platform guidelines, etc. But I think that to understand what's at stake, it's important to understand that when you have a platform of several 100,000 people with several 100,000 views watching you, and you copyright strike a platform that has maybe 5,000 followers or less, what you as a journalist are doing is chilling other forms of free speech. And that's just a fact. It just is. So it's important that your work is protected. It's important that my work is protected. But if you're going to provide a public service, which maybe that's not something that people doing reporters' work on this platform consider it. But if you're going to be doing that work, yet basically SLAPP, literally SLAPP, other very small creators into oblivion, you have to recognize that there's, there is a very clear line between in parallel to what SLAPP lawsuits do. So, for example, my President-elect Trump has filed, I think, a lawsuit against my home state newspaper, the Des Moines Register. Now, for a poll that came out before the elections projecting that Kamala Harris had a lead in Iowa, right? So, and that's just a recent example. SLAPP comes in all forms, but it's the strategic lawsuit against public participation, and it is something that is wielded by people in positions of power to slap down those that aren't. And we're going to see more and more of these against not just established news outlets like the Des Moines Register, but we're going to see it, and we've seen it, in independent reporter or independent journalist spaces. We see it in the, unfortunately, in the Karen Reed trial. Think what you want about Aidan Carney, but it is a very targeted suit that he is fighting. And so, to bring this back to what the copyright strike does is, it chills the exchange of ideas, and it flies in the face of the spirit of journalism to do that, frankly. Now, it's one thing if somebody was just running your entire content and, had monetized it, right? So that's not what I'm talking about. And YouTube has some helpful guidance on it. Video footage from a news outlet and take 15 seconds of a comment from a news report, or 20 seconds, whatever. But then I went on to talk about it for 20 minutes. That's not violating any copyright. And there's plenty of instances and examples of that. So the point is that there's a danger that comes with these copyright strikes against people that are in earnest trying to uncover hidden, if you will, instances of potential corruption. And so I would be mindful of that because that, as we move forward into the coming years in the United States, I think that journalists, and even on this platform, whether it's new media or whatever you want to call it, journalists of any stripe are going to be facing more and more obstacles in covering government. And if that is anywhere from the people with the levers of power internationally or down to our local school board, it's going to become more and more difficult moving forward, especially in states where there aren't journalistic shield laws or anti-SLAPP laws that allow for immediate redress of these frivolous. I mean, honestly, grow a thick skin. It certainly has served me well. But I think it's gravely concerning at this point that that people that are calling themselves journalists are striking other people that are doing public reporting. And I would think very seriously about that if you are a large or small creator. I don't know. I'm not clear on exactly why one would do that unless there was either something that was very, it feels weird. I just can't imagine wasting my time to do that, honestly. Unless I had something really sketchball going on. And that's just it. So if we're all here for the transparency, the irony of a copyright strike is pretty glaring. But if you're going to put your work out there, and it is work, it's legitimate work, be open to being a part of the community of journalists then, or I don't know. It's very strange to me that that's happening. And again, as we're looking at how this chills free speech and, frankly, can destroy people's livelihoods, whether it's taking time to push back on these claims, whether it's if it gets to the point where there's legal involvement. It's one thing to have that come from a corporation or from, in the case of the Des Moines Register, from a president-elect. It's pretty transparent that there's an effort to silence journalism in those instances. It's no different if it comes from another journalist. And so if you want to be a part of the problem, just go ahead and be a part of that problem. But know that every time you frivolously, if it's found to be frivolous, just blithely copyright strike. And there's been, again, this isn't just one outlet or one platform. Know that you're going to be costing another person out there doing the work a piece of their livelihood or a piece of their ability to participate in an increasingly scarce public sphere. So just maybe, maybe reconsider that approach.